Would I be the a-hole if I don't share my inheritance with my half-siblings? My father, 63, left my mom, 62, when I, 37, was 10 years old because he was having a baby with his then girlfriend/now wife, 50. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. I didn't finish college because she had gotten pregnant with my older brother, 42. My father was an idiot who made a divorce as horrible as possible for my mom. We ended up moving in with my paternal grandparents. He was their only child, and they were disappointed in him. They helped my mom go back to school, and once she finished school, she wanted to pay them back, but they wouldn't let her. They also basically disowned my father. He was invited over for Thanksgiving and Christmas, but that was about it. They did love their other grandchildren, though. They always provided gifts and contributed to their education. My grandmother passed away a few years ago from breast cancer, and my grandfather passed away last year from complications related to COVID, and he left everything to my brother and I. It wasn't a huge estate, and it's not life-changing money because both my brother and I are well established in our careers. They left my father $500, and a lawyer explained that it was a way of avoiding him being able to challenge the will. They also left each of my half-siblings $10,000. My brother and I each got over $100,000. My grandfather said that since my brother and I had grown up without a father by his choice, but his other children had, then he felt this was fair. He also left my mom his house and some money. She had been taking care of them for a long time and they never stopped thinking of her as a daughter. My father approached my brother and I recently, saying that his other kids are struggling with their finances and that we should split everything with them since we really don't need the money. He also tried to get my mom to renounce her inheritance, but she just laughed in his face and asked for all the child support he owed. I get that it's not my half-siblings' fault, but they had a dad to take care of them growing up, and we didn't. So neither my brother and I agreed to share. Now my father, his wife, and all my half-siblings are calling us a-holes for being so greedy and not helping them through the hard time they are going through. Am I the a-hole? Edit. Yes, $100,000 is a lot of money. When I said it wasn't life-changing, I meant that I would still have to work for a living and we would still have to save from retirement. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. You know that your sperm donor isn't going to leave you or your brother anything when he does. Your grandmother and grandfather loved you and wanted to help you guys. And I'm glad your mom had their support. They sound like wonderful people. They were. My grandfather taught us more about being men than my father ever did. And my mom was in the hospice with my grandmother when she passed away. They loved each other very much. Think about it this way, OP. Your father wasn't only physically present for his younger children, he was financially present too. Every dollar that should have gone to child support for your brother and you was kept by him to raise his other kids. In that way, you've already given your half-siblings tens of thousands of dollars that were rightfully yours. Your grandparents were righting a historic wrong with their own money, even though the wrong was not theirs. It was both fair and thoughtful of them to do. I'm sorry for your loss. This is a very good way to look at it. According to an article in the Washington Post, the average annual cost of caring for a child in the US is $17,000. I checked out when you were 10. Even if you allow for part of that $17,000 a year being your mom's share of the costs of raising you, when considering the $10,000 gift to the half-siblings, seems like you broke pretty even. Not the a-hole. You don't owe your half-siblings anything. This is your grandparents trying to do right by you after failing to raise a son that would. Your grandparents sound like wonderful people, and I'm sorry for your loss. Thank you. This money was an apology from your grandfather that the kid raised turned out so lousy. Half-siblings don't deserve anything more than they already got from the grandfather. Also, you know for sure that if the situation was reversed, none of them would give you a dime. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not giving my sister back to my dad? I, 28 female, have a pretty messed up family dynamic. I'm the oldest of 5. Then there's my little sister, Jenna, 16 female. Then 2 boys, 14 and 12. Then another girl, 9. Our mom blatantly favors the younger 3. I moved out when Jenna was 4, but I've always babysat her. She slept over at least 1 weekend a month, and we talked every day. Both boys have a learning disability and anger issues. The youngest girl is just a brat, and I don't speak to any of them. My mom enables all of them. Then there's my dad. He's spineless, but he is sympathetic to Jenna. Around 18 months ago, my dad called and asked if I could take Jenna, then 14, for a few months. He wanted to leave our mom and wanted her to be in a safe place. I took her in, and at first things were okay. My dad gave me a couple hundred a month to help with her expenses. He visited a few times a week and they FaceTime daily. Over time, the visits became less and less, and the payment stopped. My dad hasn't seen Jen in 4 months and hasn't spoken to her in 2. He's also gotten into arguments with me about me moving Jenna to a school closer to me and openly judges my parenting. I was driving Jenna to a crappy school with 2/10 rating, 20 miles away every day, when there's a school with a 9/10 half a mile away. Jenna has been with me so long that I'm actually in the process of buying a bigger house for us. We're in a 2-bed, 1-bath, and we're moving to a 5-bed, 3-bath. A couple weeks ago, my dad called and told me he got a house and he wants Jenna back. He has custody of all of her siblings and bought a 2-bed, 2-bath condo 60 miles away from me. I've talked to Jenna and she doesn't want to go. She doesn't feel safe sharing a room with her siblings. She doesn't want to change schools, and she doesn't want to be 60 miles away from me. I told my dad that Jenna and I don't feel comfortable with her being so far from me and having to share a room with her younger siblings, so she's going to stay with me. He said that I can't do that and she has to live with her parent, but she hasn't lived with him in a year and a half. She hasn't spoken to him in 2 months and hasn't seen him in 4. I'm going to court to have her stay with me, but my entire family, except Jenna of course, is against me. So I wanted to know if I was the a-hole. Not the a-hole. At 16, Jenna should have significant say in where and who she lives with. Your dad cannot claim you are unfit to care for her because you've been doing it for 2 years. His 2-bedroom condo is not big enough for the kids he has, since minimum is 1 room for boys, 1 for girls, and 1 for parents. I suspect he wants Jenna back so she can take care of her siblings, which is not her job. I was going to say exactly this. He wants her back so she can babysit the younger ones. You have a super strong case in court, and she should have a say in who is her caregiver. You're not the a-hole, and I'm so happy Jenna has you looking out for her. Not the a-hole, but he's also right. You can't do that. He's her parent and a parent legal guardian, and she was staying with you with his permission. You need to talk to a lawyer ASAP if you want to dispute it. I do have a feeling that you're being biased by your poor opinion of your family and kind of stuck in the attitude that it's you and her against them. The fact that there would be 4 kids, boys and girls, sharing a bedroom would look pretty bad if it came in front of a judge. And her wanting to stay with you and him asking you to take her in the first place would look good, but the laws on this vary a lot. And some judges just wouldn't care. If he's as spineless as you think, he might just cave rather than going through another custody battle. But if he reports her as a runaway, you're likely to have a knock at your door and a police car to drive her home. I am her legal guardian. Not the a-hole. Lawyer up. At the very least, a consult with a lawyer that practices family law. Save receipts, proof of supporting a dependent. Bank statements, proof of you paying for all her expenses. If your dad did deposits, point out how he pretty much stopped. Letters from teachers. Establish a link to stability. Possibly get old school records of her grades improved. Letter from your mortgage company and or credit report. Proof of financial stability and the ability to support both you and her. Dates of FaceTime, texts, emails, and phone calls of both of your conversations with him. It shows your story is not just word of mouth, and a decline in communication and what his plans are. Good luck. I have a consultation with a couple lawyers today. Next story. Am I the a-hole for screaming at my husband and mother-in-law over spray art of my late husband? In 2011, my husband passed away in a car accident. He was with our eldest son, who fortunately survived with minor injuries. The accident and his subsequent death was extremely unexpected and it really hit our family hard, but mostly my son as he watched his father die. One of my son's favorite hobbies was street art and spray painting. His dad got him into it and he'd been doing it frequently before his passing. Afterwards, he stopped. He barely even wanted to talk about his father despite many attempts at therapy and interventions. But then on the day before the 5th anniversary of his death, I woke up to him spray painting outside. He was busy with it all day and finished on the anniversary. It was a tribute to a moment we had on the last family trip we went on, but he added wings on his father. He never spoke about it after that and hasn't sprayed painted again either to my knowledge. I met my husband in 2019 and we married last year. He moved in with us with his daughter and everyone's been getting along. The only problem came a few weeks ago when my husband brought up his discomfort of having to see my late husband's face every time he looks outside. I explained to him that I understood how he felt, but in the end of the day, my late husband wasn't just a husband, but a father, and the artwork was done by our child as part of his own grieving process. He wasn't happy, but seemed to accept it. Yesterday, I was having a very stressful day for a plethora of reasons that I won't bore you with. The point is that, when I got home, I was already on edge. My mother-in-law was home and made a comment about how inappropriate it was to have an ex's face plastered outside, as if it was the first time seeing it, but whatever. I told her I wasn't in the mood today, and she said something about me not having to not be in the mood today had I removed it when I decided to commit to another man. My husband also decided to chirp in to say he'd already tried talking to me about it, and that it was a waste of time. And that's where I lost it. I don't even remember what exactly I was saying, but I just started screaming and going off at them. Generally about how much it meant to my son/our family, and I didn't want to hear about this anymore. My husband apologized to me later, but also mentioned that I shouldn't have screamed at them like that though, and that it could have been handled better even though they were admittedly wrong. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. And I'm sorry, did they label your husband who passed as an ex? You're a freaking widow. Your son wanted to memorialize his father. So if that's how they feel about memorials, then maybe your mother-in-law will like having her grave passed on. You are so far from the a-hole, and I am sorry for your loss, and that your son had to bear witness. Yeah, I'm surprised nobody has picked up on the fact that they're just jealous towards a dead former husband. Very that. It's a memorial honoring a loved one from son to father. If anyone spoke ill of it to me and I was the OP, I'd be right insane. Let's also talk about how OP said she had a hard day, stated a boundary if not being the mood, and mother-in-law did not care. That's another strike. OP, again, you are not the a-hole. At the end of the day, screaming at family member is never going to be the best choice, but you are without a doubt not the a-hole. Thank you for defending your child and his grieving process. You sound like a very empathic mother. And make sure to photograph the wall well in case that artwork is ever lost, like if you and your husband move so that your son will always have it. Please photograph it in detail. Take time doing it. When he goes to college, give him a framed copy to take with him. Not the a-hole. They chose not to listen when you weren't screaming. Apparently, the only way for them to listen to you is when you're out of patience. It's very frustrating to deal with people who have to be told no over and over and over again. And when you finally snap and yell, they say, "Why didn't you just say so?" Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my mom to prioritize me if she wants to see me more? I, female 16, have parents who are divorced like many people. My dad married my stepmom 3 years ago. My mom got married to my now stepdad 2 months ago. My parents' custody agreement has always been 50-50, which worked well, and my parents were able to co-parent well even though they got divorced. Before my mom married stepdad, we lived in a cute 2-bedroom apartment. It was small, but I liked it. Both mom and I had our own space. But once mom and stepdad got married, my mom moved into his house. Now, stepdad has twin daughters, 8, and due to family issues, they live with him full-time. Stepdad has 3-bedroom house. When I first went to stay at my stepdad's place, I was informed I have to share a bedroom with my stepsisters who are 8. When I said I thought there were 3 bedrooms, I was told that the other room is my stepdad's man cave. I was willing to try staying in a room with the twins, and I tried for a whole month. It just didn't work. They go to bed earlier than me, and I have no privacy, which is nice to have as a teen girl. I asked my stepdad if we could make the other room as a bedroom for me, and he just said he needed the space. So, I told my mom I'm going to start staying more with my dad. I visit mom 3 to 4 times a week. I go over to my mom's on weekdays when I get off of school and stay over there until 10:30 p.m. So I'm over there for quite a few hours, and when I'm there on weekends, it's longer. Recently, my mom has been complaining that she barely sees me anymore. I told her I'm sorry she feels that way, but it isn't right I'm expected to share a room with 8-year-olds. I also said it's more understandable if we truly didn't have the room, but we do. Stepdad is just being selfish and you're agreeing with him instead of prioritizing my needs as a teenager. Mom got upset. Stepdad ended up calling me selfish and an a-hole, saying kids share rooms all the time. Your stepfather is calling you selfish? Well, that's rich. Your mom should have advocated for you before she ever agreed to marry or move in with a guy. Not the a-hole. Your mom and stepfather are. I 100% agree. Stepdad agreed to marry your mom knowing there'd be 3 kids in his house now. which means some sacrifices, including getting rid of his man cave, not the a-hole. The fact that it's not even a home office, but his damn man cave is upsetting. And if this is a house, then there is a good chance that there is a yard, which means he could put up an insulated shed and have a true man cave. Not the a-hole, OP. If your mom tries to fight this in court, let your dad get full custody. There are very few judges who would look kindly at this situation. In my state, blood siblings can be made to share, but half-siblings and step-siblings are required to have their own spaces. If siblings are more than 5 years apart in age, they are required to have their own spaces. And brothers cannot share a room with sisters over the age of 7. Not an issue here, just part of the spiel I've had to memorize over the years working with foster parents. Not the a-hole. You're the child. Your parents need to provide for you. Your own space is the best thing for you and the twins. Your stepfather is a parent. He's being selfish and irresponsible. If it were an office and he worked from home, I'd maybe see it differently. But no, he doesn't get a man cave if he crams his 3 kids into another room. What are his poor twins going to do when they're teens? I'd say get the custody arrangement rewritten so you're 100% with dad. I can't see a family court letting the man cave slide. Mom and stepdad may be afraid that if that happens, she will have to pay child support. And most judges will listen to what a kid this age wants. I wouldn't be surprised if she has to babysit the 8-year-old twins a lot.